Hello and welcome back to Tarot with Sahar. So this is the period or the phase, the second phase of the Fool, the second phase that he has to go through. And this is truly about going through trials and tribulations in life. Please leave me a comment, like and share. I hope you remember we've started by looking at the journey of the Fool, and what I suggested is that you leave the Fool on the side and we start the journey with the major cards, and that you do the infinity exercise beforehand, and we're going to go through the cards one by one. And what we said is that the Fool represents you and me at the beginning of our life journey. And first we get the Magician, the person who's a little bit older. He had to learn few skills, and guiding this person is his spiritual mom, and then his physical or nurturing mom on earth, the equivalent. So this is the mundane or the physical, the earthly, and this is the spiritual mom. And then we have the earthly father, his father, who's the older gentleman, the emperor. And we mentioned a little bit about the numbers. Look at the numbers and what they mean, relate them to the picture. So 4, stability, authority, older figure laying the foundation. 1 is the beginning, the number that has all the other elements in it, and these are the elements and all the possibilities in it, infinite possibilities. And 2 is about the unknown, seeing the unknown, using the intuition. It's also the different phases of the moon. And the Empress is about the potential of nurturing, giving birth to not just children, but also it could be ideas or business projects. And it shows the 4 seasons and so on. Seasons are very important in the tarot. Numbers are very important in the tarot. Colors are very important in the tarot. Next, we have the spiritual father or the Hierophant, the oracle, whereas the high priestess is more hidden knowledge. The oracle is expressed knowledge. The oracle is a person like a crystal glass. You don't know what it sounds like until you strike it. So the minute you ask a person with a vibration of 5, which you can get from their date of birth, if they're a 5 number, most probably any question you ask them, they are quick thinkers and somehow they get inspired with the information. Next, the Fool grows up into this adult. He has 2 earthly parents that nurtured him. He also has 2 spiritual guides that nurtured him. And the first decision is about people he chooses to work with, collaborate with, fall in love with. And this is one of the first big decisions that he has to make, which are to do with emotions. So love often motivates us to make a change. That's why a lot of relationships, for example, might not work, but we need to fall in love. We need to make that decision so that we can get to know who we are through the other. So it's only when we collaborate, when we interact with another person who is not related to us, whether it's a friend or a partner, we truly begin to find out what is important to us. So the destination, which is the mountains behind them, may seem far, but they're guided by this figure of angel, which represents inspiration, if you will. And if they maintain the balance, this is another theme you will see and notice throughout the tarot, which is always the 2 pillars, the 2 parents, the physical, the spiritual, the physical, and so on. So there's a theme of duality. There's a theme of there are decisive moments where you have to make a decision, like justice. And as we say, justice is blind, but in this case his eyes are wide open, i.e. you have to weigh out the facts and separate the truth from hearsay, and you have to make a practical decision that is non-emotional. If you look at his face, it's totally not blank, but I would say neutral, really, that he's trying to be objective rather than subjective. Before he makes this hard decision, which is a practical decision, he has to train his instinct in order that his mind rules over overcoming an obstacle on his way. Overcoming any obstacle needs, again, that balance between intuition and logic. and it needs a developed skill. Skill comes through experience. So when clients ask me, like, why did my relationships not work out? It's not because you're jinx or you have bad luck, but you needed that experience of interacting with different people to figure out who you are, what do you want, and where your life is going, what is important to you, what are your core values. And when we look at the charioteer, we can see that there is something transcendental about him. Okay, the chariot has two wheels, but really he has no reins holding onto these two figures here. He's just crossing over water, like hovering over water. So the wheels logically cannot go over water. So for me, this card is so interesting. He left a life of luxury and going where? We don't know, but it does look good. There's a lot of green grass. Maybe it's into the unknown, but it's somewhere that he wanted, powered by his inspiration. And when you've mastered yourself and your basic instinct, when your mind overrules, or when your mind is in connection with your heart, the heart is quite lit, because again we have the stability, the square over the heart chakra, and we have the stars over his head and also the star on his crown. That implies seeking inspiration before you act. And to act in the right way, it needs to be inspired, you need to be passionate about it, and you need to master the duality. And we need the duality in order, like a pendulum, to figure out where is the middle way. Next, we have that decision, and this is why I said I almost always, the first thing that I do is swap the numbers between justice and strength. So for me, strength is really 11 and justice is 8, because justice or 8 is the karmic number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we lay the cards in 3 rows, that's the first row, which is to do with growth, being nurtured, developing the skills that the fool needs in order to grow. So this is the basic training, the basic boot camp, if you like, where he had to train in all of these things. I'm not going to go over the numbers because I'd like to go over the next few cards. So I want to show you this. So 0 is the birth of the fool. The magician is about life and education. The emperor or the empress about meeting his mortal parents. The high priestess and the hierophant are about meeting the fool's divine parents. The lover's card represents his love and conflict, which is the lovers and the chariots. Now we move into the second phase, which is trials of adulthood. So the first trial, 8. And then he recognizes, I want to show you this is 8, 9, that we need some wisdom and reflection. This is, if you will, his mentor. The hermit is the spiritual guide. So that's the male part of his spiritual guide. The strength is the female part of his, or the female counter of spiritual guidance. And before that happens, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have the 12. And then it ends with 13, which everybody fears, but don't. We'll talk about what that means. So this is the period or the phase, the second phase of the Fool, the second phase that he has to go through. And this is truly about going through trials and tribulations in life. And what we see him going through is karma or justice. He needs some guidance, because anything that is to do with physical earth, we need to be inspired. The hermit represents the male aspect of being guided, or the hermit. The hermit is also about not showing off knowledge, but rather the knowledge that you gain, you offer to people who seek guidance. That's why he's on his own. He's a traveler. He holds the big cane, of wisdom. If you notice, all prophets were shepherds, and shepherds have their guiding stick. Notice again the feet. There's always one foot sticking out, one foot moving forward. This is really interesting. So that's another detail that you need to look at. And then changes in life. So if you're stuck, then you have the Wheel of Fortune. Things will move forward. If you are moving forward, remember there is seasonality to life. Whatever was up will come down. Whatever is down will come up. 4 elements, 4 seasons, 4 corners of the world. We'll come back to that in more detail later on. But notice all these different figures. And then we have the female. Again, the infinity sign comes up, i.e. you have infinite access to higher knowledge, higher healing, if you will. And she's wearing white robes, and she's taming the lion. The lion could be anything. Forces, taming the beast, taming basic instinct, so that you can go on to a different level. So the hermit and the strength guide, or the enchantress, excuse me, little cat, guide the fool so that he becomes wiser, but there will come a time where he has to do things on his own. He has to reflect, he has to withdraw, suspend himself. This is the myth or the story of Odin, who had to hang himself upside down. For me, it's about seeing things from a different perspective, and you truly do. If you've ever sat on a double-decker bus, it's a totally different view when you sit on the top floor than when you are on the ground floor. You really do see your city or town from a different perspective, and you notice things that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. Okay, so after a period of suspension, he realizes, and this is the first huge transformation that he has to go through. The death card here represents death of the past. So I'm reminded by, I think it was St. Paul, who said, when I was a child, I acted like a child, I spoke like a child, but when I became an adult, I put childish things away. So that's about putting all the past behind us, all the previous ways, all the childish ways, all the foolish ways, and really becoming aware that every action has a reaction or has a consequence. So death is about huge transformation, end of a phase and beginning of a new one. Black and white to highlight the contrast. And it's almost like the resurrection, if you will, in the sense that like a phoenix, you will rise out of the ashes, start a new cycle, start a new phase. And you can't start a new phase which is on a different level. It's never the same thing, by the way. Remember that infinity sign, and I showed you the different levels. Experiences don't really repeat themselves in exactly the same way. It's always whatever you didn't deal with, then it will come back again, and you will deal with it on a different level. So this time, the death cannot be escaped. We're all gonna die. So whatever experience you're going through, you cannot escape it. It's meant to happen in order to bring about a change. So if you like, the Wheel of Fortune is a light change, just a change, a seasonal change, whereas death is a transformation. So we need a period of reflection after all this activity and wars. We need to withdraw, we need to keep the balance, we need to reflect, and very often that prepares us for a new chapter in our lives. Next time, we'll talk about the third and the final stage of the transformation of the Fool that represents you and me in our life journey. I hope you found this useful. If you have, please leave me a comment, like, and share with your friends. I need your support to continue going. Take care for now. See you soon.